It is a well-established statistical fact that 94% of the lawyers out there give the other 6% a bad reputation. Jamie Raskin,
welcome to the 94.
Viva Frei, Montreal litigator turned YouTuber, and for those of you who might be unaware, lawyers in general society tend to have a bad reputation, and some might say that they tend to have deserved that bad reputation. Chicanery, sneakery, playing with words, and typically at the cost of $500 an hour. People tend not to like lawyers, and people tend to hate the good lawyers. That is, of course, until they need a good lawyer. But even then, they tend to still hate good lawyers. Now, when it comes to what we consider to be a good lawyer, some of us have different definitions. I consider a good lawyer to be a principled individual who will not compromise their integrity or their honesty in the pursuit of their client's interests. Others might consider a good lawyer to be the exact opposite, to do anything and everything to pursue their client's interests, and that is, generally speaking, why people tend to hate lawyers. And when it comes to the general disdain for lawyers and the amount of lawyers who later go on to be politicians, one can also understand why there is such disdain for politicians. Now, for those of you who have been living under a judicial rock covered in snow like this car, Donald Trump has been impeached for a second time. For good or for bad, Donald Trump can now officially say that he is the only president in the history of America to have been impeached 2 times, and that means that this Congress is the only Congress to have ever impeached a president 2 times. Depending on your political persuasions, you might think that being impeached 2 times shows how super duper awful Donald Trump is, and if you're on the other side of the aisle, you might think it shows how super duper compromised and politicized Congress is. In an era when everything from language to tweets to social media has been weaponized to the nth degree, so too has the Constitution itself via this impeachment process. And if any of you had any doubts as to how things have been weaponized to such a degree that it actually sort of contradicts the very essence of that which is being weaponized, wait until you see what games are being played in the context of this second impeachment. Now, I did a video breaking down the impeachment and Trump's response. If you haven't seen it, go watch that video. It'll give you a good idea as to the nature of the impeachment and the nature of the defense. Suffice only to say that Donald Trump's second impeachment was on the basis that he incited an insurrection with his speech on Capitol Hill on January 6, 2021. And I know it's going to get old, but I'm never going to stop saying it. Incited an insurrection, or according to Chuck Schumer, incited the erection.
Make no mistake, there will be a trial, and when that trial ends, senators will have to decide if they believe Donald John Trump incited the erection.
What did you say?
I don't care how old you are, I don't care what your political affiliation is. Funny is funny, and that is funny. For those of you who may not know how the impeachment process works, or for those of you who followed it the last time around but forgot, there are 2 separate steps in this process. You have the impeachment itself and then the trial and conviction or acquittal. The House has in fact impeached Donald Trump for a second time, but he has not yet had his trial before the Senate, wherein he will either be acquitted or convicted. A conviction before the Senate would require a supermajority of the 100 senators, so 66 votes to convict, and by all accounts, they're not going to get those votes, so this impeachment, probably like some felt about the first one, is pure political theater. Pure political theater that has not only weaponized this particular tool of the Constitution, but some might say has bastardized the Constitution itself. And if we are looking for someone to blame, I don't think we need to look much further than Jamie Raskin, lawyer turned politician. Let's see what he had to say. Jamie Raskin is the lead impeachment manager of this second impeachment of Donald Trump. And now that Donald Trump has been impeached by the House, they're trying to schedule the trial before the Senate, and Jamie Raskin sent Donald Trump this letter in which he said the following. President Donald J. Trump, care of Bruce L. Castor Jr. and David Schoen, Trump's attorneys. Via email. Dear President Trump, as you are aware, the United States House of Representatives has approved an article of impeachment against you for incitement of insurrection. The Senate trial for this article of impeachment will begin on Tuesday, February 9, 2021. 2 days ago, you filed an answer in which you denied many factual allegations set forth in the article of impeachment. You have thus attempted to put critical facts at issue, notwithstanding the clear and overwhelming evidence of your constitutional offense. Innocent until proven guilty? Nope, not anymore. Now you are guilty until proven innocent. I guess Donald Trump is even fortunate that they are giving him a trial in the first place. In light of your disputing these factual allegations, I write to invite you to provide testimony under oath, either before or during the Senate impeachment trial, concerning your conduct on January 6, 2021. We would propose that you provide your testimony, of course including cross-examination, as early as Monday, February 8, 2021, and not later than Thursday, February 11, 2021. We would be pleased to arrange such testimony at a mutually convenient time and place. I mean, reading that really, who can hate lawyers? Just look how polite and accommodating Jamie Raskin is being. He's saying, Donald Trump, look, we want you to testify, which would of course include our right to cross-examine you, so we'll go out of our way just to find a mutually compatible time where we can compel you to testify. And if you find that paragraph shocking to read, wait until you read this next paragraph because it will literally blow your mind in the purely legal sense. Jamie Raskin goes on to cite Presidents Gerald Ford and Bill Clinton, who testified under oath while they were still in office, to further reassure Donald Trump that he has nothing to worry about since he's no longer in office. He has even less constraints about testifying in person, before dropping this doozy of an absolute unconstitutional doozy. You know what I mean? If you decline this invitation, we reserve any and all rights, including the right to establish at trial that your refusal to testify supports a strong adverse inference regarding your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021. What? What the fuck? Translation, you no longer have the right to remain silent. You no longer have protections from self-incrimination. Your silence will be deemed to be evidence of your guilt, and in a world where silence is violence, this was only the logical next step. This is an absolute reversal of the principle of the Constitution itself. It is an act of disrespect to the Constitution itself, and what makes it even more shocking is the work experience of Jamie Raskin. From Wikipedia, Jamie Ben Raskin, born December 13, 1962, is an American lawyer and politician serving as the U.S. representative for Maryland's 8th Congressional District since 2017. The district is located in Montgomery County, an affluent suburban county northwest of Washington, D.C., and extends through rural Frederick County to the Pennsylvania border. A Democrat, he was a member of the Maryland State Senate from 2007 to 2016. Those were just some irrelevant details. This is where it gets jaw-dropping. I don't know if the good word is Orwellian, Kafkaesque, or just pure idiocracy, but wait until I read you this. Prior to his election to Congress, he was a constitutional law professor at American University Washington College of Law, where he co-founded and directed the LLM program on law and government and co-founded the Marshall Brennan Constitutional Literacy Project. He was a constitutional law professor. Well, let me just show you a piece of evidence, Mr. Raskin. I'll file it as Exhibit A. It is called the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. The Fifth Amendment creates a number of rights relevant to both criminal and civil legal proceedings. In criminal cases, the Fifth Amendment guarantees the right to a grand jury, forbids, quote, double jeopardy, end quote, and protects against self-incrimination. It also requires that, quote, due process of law, end quote, be part of any proceeding that denies a citizen, quote, life, liberty, or property, end quote, and requires the government to compensate citizens when it takes private property for public use. Now, I know what some of you might be saying to yourselves, this is just an impeachment trial. This is not an actual criminal trial, so the Fifth Amendment may not apply to the president insofar as these are just political proceedings. To which I might respond that impeachment proceedings are in fact quasi-criminal proceedings of the Senate. From Cornell Law School, impeachment. What is impeachment? Technically, impeachment is the Senate's quasi-criminal proceeding instituted to remove a public officer, not the actual act of removal. I would suggest that the Fifth Amendment protections of the Constitution itself actually apply to the president even in the context of impeachment proceedings, but alas, I am just a lowly Montreal lawyer talking at the world from my snow-covered car. Don't take my word for it. Trust the constitutional scholar Jonathan Turley. For those of you who may not know or who may have forgotten, Jonathan Turley is a constitutional expert. He testified in the first impeachment proceedings, and he also comes to the conclusion that yes, Fifth Amendment protections apply to Donald Trump. From Jonathan Turley's blog, Raskin, Trump's decision not to testify may be cited as evidence of his guilt. The Fifth Amendment embodies this touchstone of American law in declaring that, quote, no person shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, end quote. It was a rejection of the type of abuses associated with the infamous Star Chamber in Great Britain. As the Supreme Court declared in 1964, it is an embodiment of, quote, many of our fundamental values and most noble aspirations, end quote. Central to this right is the added protection that the silence of an accused cannot be used against him in the way suggested by Raskin. There was a time when members of Congress not only respected this rule, but fought to amplify it. For example, in 1878, Congress was enacting a law that addressed testimonial rights, but expressly stated that the failure of an accused to request to testify, quote, shall not create any presumption against him, end quote. And Jonathan Turley goes on to conclude as follows. This is not the first time that reason has been left a stranger in our age of rage. There appears no price too great to pay to impeach or prosecute Trump. Now the House is arguing against one of the very touchstones of our constitutional system, and legal experts are silent. If everything is now politics, this trial is little more than a raw partisanship cloaked in constitutional pretense. Turley, the first impeachment was raw partisanship cloaked in constitutional pretense. This is just over-the-top overkill. Yes, in this age of rage, everything is politics, and like I always say, politics ruins everything. So much so that we now have former constitutional law professors utterly shredding the Constitution itself in order to create a presumption of guilt to go after their political adversary. It would seem that according to certain constitutional law professors, the United States has gone from a constitutional republic to an absolute Stalinist regime. To be continued, we will see what happens during this second impeachment trial, which is scheduled to begin next week. My prediction is that it's going to be an absolute political poop show that is going to do very serious damage to the Constitution and the government itself. It would seem that any of these calls for unity are totally disingenuous lip service, that there can be no unity in this age of rage, and the desire to take down your political opponents comes at any cost, even if it means undermining the Constitution itself. Alright, and I think that is about as angry as my angry face gets. With that said, if you like my videos, you like my content, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop a comment in the comment section below because it feeds the algorithm. If you want to support the channel, all of these support links are in the pinned comment. We've got PayPal, Patreon, subscribe to our YouTube membership. Robert Barnes and I have a page on Locals. It is called vivabarneslaw.locals.com. All of my content is also on Rumble under Viva Frei. But more important than any of that, take care of yourselves, check in on friends and family, make sure everyone around you is doing well, and now you know your vlog. Peace out. Booyah.